Alrighty, so I'm joined by my good friend Keith over there in Austin, Texas, who has just landed his product manager job. How you doing over there, man?
Doing fantastic. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, so this is actually the second time that you've job hunted with us. I met you the first time around. I met you back in May. I remember it was just when the vaccine was rolling out. I think it was like either May or June 2021, and you were trying to break in product management then. Um, It's been, gosh, time flies. Like it's been like 3 years since I actually first met you. How's everything with you?
It's been good. This is my second time through Product Gym. And I came back for a reason because I had a lot of success the first go around. And even though this is a super difficult market and I face new challenges,
Uh,
Product Gym proved to be successful yet again.
what what was so I mean, obviously we've had a lot of the people that's taken the program in the past. They were unfortunately impacted because of the market conditions. Uh what was different about the current job hunt, other than the fact that it was brutal? But what was difficult about it, and basically, what did you have to do to kind of pivot?
Yeah, so I think what was most difficult about it is it's an employer's market. Employers have hundreds, if not thousands, of applications. They have highly qualified candidates that they didn't have before. And so they, don't feel as rushed to get these quality candidates because they can get a quality candidate in their door, same week after they've spoken to, one high quality candidate. And then how I pivoted to kind of overcome that challenge is I actually saw myself letting the recruiters know that I was a hot commodity as early on in the process as I could. So getting on those recruiter calls, letting them know, hey, I'm super interested in this opportunity, but I do need to be transparent and let you know that I am actively interviewing. And I'm actually one step ahead in the process with like another two, even a third company. So if you can get me, if there's any way to expedite this process to meet with the hiring manager, then I would greatly benefit or I would greatly appreciate that. And then once I get to the hiring manager, letting them know the same thing. Hey, I'm one, maybe even two steps ahead. If you guys are serious about me, you know, let's please expedite this so that we can make this work for both of us.
Very good, creating that social proof. That was actually one of the things that was actually one of the things that we learned in recruiting when we're selling candidates, which was like the old school. I forget it was. Excuse me. It was like which book where one of those really old like 1920s Americans like Think and Grow Rich, or like How to Win Friends and Influence People, where you would have the old school guy that's selling vacuum cleaners door to door, like around like Depression era, right? And it's just like, well, I don't really think I need a vacuum cleaner. It's like, ma'am, can I just show you how this vacuum cleaner works? It's like, well, sure. I didn't want to sweep on my own floors and actually like demo it in front of the person. And then from there, once you actually sweep it up, you tell them like, well, it seems like, I'm all done with your living room. And then like I just wanted you to know that I only had three of these left, but I really like your white picket fence so much that I decided that I wanted to, introduce myself. And that combination of social proof and scarcity, and then letting them know that, their neighbor down the street has already bought a vacuum cleaner, that actually got people to be extremely, extremely excited. So really good job of you actually delivering that.
Yeah, and one thing I'll also add is I also found that like qualifying the job through the interviewers was also really helpful. Going into those interviews, knowing that I have other interviews lined up and basically telling my interviewers, hey, I don't know if I'm right for this role. I really don't. I have concerns in the job description. You guys are looking for skills that are very rare.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think I'm an expert in this area. Are you guys open to a candidate like myself who has X years of experience in a specific domain that has transferable skills? And then seeing them like almost me push away from the job, they would be like, oh, well, we're actually totally open to that. And they would want to pull me back in because there's like, oh, this is a high quality candidate. He may not be interested in this role, but he clearly has the skills. And it just totally changed the dynamic of I'm the candidate, they have the leverage, but it's actually I'm the talent, And we both have leverage here, so let's utilize it together.
I think that's like such an important part about buyer's decision is because that you cannot there's no possible way that you can go ahead and hire everybody. So you got to go ahead and whoever stands out more, people want to go ahead and get access to that person. Because like, you know, anything that you can trade resources for is just limited, right? Like if you are going into like one of those like food markets and stuff where they have like 100, 200 booths, even at like $1 a taco or like $1 a hot dog or whatever, right? There's just no way you're going to be able to sample everybody. So it's like you're only really going to make room for your stomach for whatever's really going to go ahead and pop out at you. So I think it's also important that when you differentiate yourself in that market where, hey, 10 people are saying they can do it, like yes, 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 and that one person that is going to stand out and say like, hey, I can't do, like, are you sure? That actually is going to get like the way that human nature just responds to scarcity is it's always like really like amazed me. So really good job on that too.
Yeah, and thank you. And the final piece I'll add is, you mentioned standing out in the process. One ways I would stand out in this process is not only by showing scarcity and by qualifying the job, but also building rapport with the interviewers and the hiring managers. We've talked about, thank you emails should never be a criteria for if you get rejected or not, but it does help you stand out and being able to draw on past conversations and then show, hey, I remember talking about this in our interview. I did some research, and here's the research I found, showing them basically previewing the skills that you would execute and display on in the job. It's those little things like that that build the rapport and make you stand out. And then, having a good resume that they can look back on as well is going to help stand out. But again, just building that rapport, qualifying the job itself to see if it's a good fit for you, and then creating that scarcity of, hey, I am a step or two ahead of where we are currently is little things that make a big difference in the long run.
I love that. Most people when they're sending out a thank you email out there, it's just really like thank you. But what you should really do in the thank you email is actually address um you know it shows self-awareness of where it is that you really lacked in the interview process, but actually like um being able to turn that interview around and say like, I knew I could have answered this question better, or like I understand what your concerns, and just giving them that little bit extra whatever to go out there and actually turn that to turn that maybe into turn that no into a maybe. I think it's actually really hard to turn a no into a yes. But if you can actually turn a no into a maybe, that also differentiates yourself because it's showing that like it's showing that you're thinking outside the box, right? Because you can't know every, especially in a market as volatile as the current market that we're in right now, it's like impossible for you to be able to go out there and like know everything. If what we were doing worked before, there wouldn't be so many layoffs. Because clearly the previous, I would say the old school product management strategies are no longer effective. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of interviewers, I think a common trap is that interviewers will go into these interviews and they say, "Hey, I have all these transferable skills. I'm qualified. You should hire me." But I actually found it much more successful when I went into it and I said, "Hey, sure, I have this experience. Sure, I think I could help in this way, but I'm not looking to come in here and make change right away. I'm looking to come in here and learn about what the team's processes are to see how I can help, where I can give the most impact, as quickly as possible. And I'm just a student. I want to be moldable into whatever you need me to be, and not, say this is how I've done it previously and how I plan on doing it with you." And I think people were really receptive to being like, "Oh, hey, this person, he may not be exactly what we're looking for, but we can turn him into exactly what we're looking for." And I found a lot of success with that.
100%. I think like, wow, that's like amazing. The visual selling piece is actually something that I really want to go ahead and like throw out more because remember like when I first met you, you had brought a family member on the line to just make sure that you guys weren't getting ripped off, right? And like I had showed you guys so much. But like when I'm making a decision whether or not, like, we're very active right now on YouTube and like on Instagram and all these other different platforms. When I'm making a decision whether or not I'm working with a vendor, it's like I need to go ahead and basically see something, like show me other YouTube channels. And the more like we showed you like all these different use cases of all these different backgrounds and how we were able to go ahead and kind of pivot and tweak the game plan a little bit. I think it's so hard for even like in Silicon Valley when they're pitching, everything that you're telling me today is exactly what I just saw on this one YouTube short video of this one guy who was like, he just gave a talk at Stanford. I've never heard of a startup before, but he literally just gotten funding in a time when it is the most difficult to get source funding for startups by VCs out there. And he was like, the first thing that I did was, I hired a pitch instructor, and he said, you need to go ahead and you need to make the vision like a little bit bigger and actually let them know which other VCs are you just even talking to. Because if they feel like, oh, you made it through the, like right now, there's never been a shortage of people pitching investors, right? So the fact that you even made it into the pitch room is like the due diligence, because they have nothing but free MBA interns like actively just screen out people. It's like, okay, so like, and he didn't actually know that. And you know what? Investor decisions take a long time because they got to go out there and they actually have to go out there and do their due diligence. They actually have their own internal product or software engineering team audit your code, or like they actually go over your projections and whatnot, right? So it's like, yeah, I'm talking to all these other company. I'm talking to, Andreessen Horowitz, blah, 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 blah. I'm talking to Sequoia Capital. So social proofing up front and then like backing it up with the demo. And he's like doing those two things basically got us the originally he was trying to raise like about 10 million, ended up like walking out like 25-30 million dollars, instead of just going out there and just saying like, we are planning to change how people transfer money over, like, yeah, we heard that shit before. Like, but like actually showing people like the demo, I think is like so important. And I think it just goes back to like buyer's decision, and just seeing like, what am I really buying? What am I really getting myself into? And then also, what am I really getting back? So kudos for you for like doing it on all those fronts. And also like standing out. He also mentioned that in his pitch, was just like, this is what we don't do, this is what we don't do, this is what we don't do. But also our price point is here versus our competitors' price points is here. So if you want all those extras, you can always go to them and, give us enough time, enough money. We'll build up those features. But as of right now, we've interviewed enough people where they're like, I don't need all that. I only need this. So I think learning how to sell, learning how to influence people is so important, whether or not like um you're going for like a raise negotiation, or you're going for like a title promotion or anything like that. Is like, that is a fantastic tactic of like, okay, this is actually what I don't do, actually demonstrates more leadership, rather than like somebody saying like, I do this, and this. And it's just like, should we really make you the next director of product? Because there's no way you could do all that, but like letting them know, like, this is what I do, this is what actually I don't do. One of the team members that I hired from the UK, when we decided to expand to the UK market, that person was very transparent too. I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't do this. And that level of transparency made me believe that person more versus the 13 other candidates that we interviewed in London, which was like, yeah, I do that. Don't worry about that. I was like, why is it that I end up worrying every time somebody leads a sentence with "don't worry"? I end up worrying more. uh, um, so great. Were there, were outside of our training, was there any other like additional books that you've read to basically like kind of got you to think about approaching the game this way?
Books, no. Online articles, yes. Even though there were a lot of book resources, I kind of, you know, put together a plan for myself and then learned through iterating and the feedback I was getting in real time, whether it was feedback that was explicitly stated or if it was feedback that I kind of inferred and put together myself. But it wasn't a lot of book reading. It was more of just like online resources and then just learning through doing.
Learning through doing, man. That's just the craziest thing. Something I picked up when I was working at Starbucks and uh I worked in apparel, like folding clothes at the Gap when I was way younger, is you know, if you do anything enough, like you start figuring out how to get it done faster. And I think that's actually another problem with the procrastination that's going on in the market right now is constantly trying to figure out the best way. The best way is going to reveal itself to you the more you freaking do it. Because if you fold up enough like kitty shirts, because I remember like the most annoying shirts to fold up was the 0 to 6 months. This is so damn small. They had like this little tool that they gave me. I remember that. But the more you do something, the more you will figure out how to optimize for efficiency. Um, yeah. And people are wondering like why hasn't anybody like divulged that knowledge? And I also think the market's just moving so fast right now that if you're constantly trying to figure out the best way to do something, by the time that you figure it out, the market's already moved forward. So the fastest thing for you to do is just dive in. Like we're not planning to like land a crew people safely on Mars. This is like my boss used to always say there's playing Game of Thrones and there's playing Call of Duties. Like Call of Duty is like just point, click, and shoot it. And it's just like as repetitive, get as many reps in, go through like as many trial and error as possible. And then there's like, okay, you got to be very strategic because every single move counts. And there are things where you can liken it to that, where I would say like, you know, landing a crew of astronauts safely in Mars, like you probably don't. You probably want to go out there and be very, very, very calculating. But in the world of job hunting, it's large. It's a pure blunt force trauma, numbers game. Um, and honestly, with the Mars mission, it's honestly he even said like that's just an economics issue. Because if they could do it cost efficiently, they'll just be launching like 20, 30 crews a day. And they'll get it right. With a lot of loss of life. So, how long did this job hunt take you this time around? How many offers did you end up bagging?
To be completely honest, this job hunt was really difficult. It's from a candidate's perspective, it feels like an absolute horrible, horrendous, terrible market. And I say that as lightly as I can because I try to make it sustainable. But that was the reality that I faced. To answer your question, the job search took 8 months for me, which was crazy for me, in my opinion, because when I was breaking into the market and I had no prior product management experience and I was just kind of selling transferable skills, it took me 6 months. So coming off a product management job in this market, it took me longer, more interviews, and more applications given that this market was different than the one that I broke into product management with. So it took me 8 months. And was there a second part to your question, or was it really just time?
Um, 8 months, and then how many applications do you think you fired off total, and how many interviews do you think you did total?
Yeah, so I unfortunately wasn't tracking it, to a T, but in kind of thinking back to it, kind of working back applications per month, per week, etc. I calculated that I put out. It's gonna sound crazy. It kind of is about 10,000 applications over that 8 month period, and that was a combination of LinkedIn Easy Apply and then also what I call LinkedIn Long Apply, which is basically just a non-easy apply application. So that's combining long apply and easy apply. Probably the majority of those were easy apply, but about 10,000 over 8 months, and I actually got 2.5 offers. And I say 2.5 because earlier on in my process, probably 3 or so months in, I got a scam offer from a company where I never met anybody on the team. I only answered questions that they had sent over, almost in like a take-home assignment case study. And then they gave me an offer off of that. And so that was a scam offer, but it didn't help my emotional roller coaster that comes with, being in this market. And then I got an offer probably 7 months in that unfortunately I got rescinded due to my own poor negotiating. So that's a real thing that I think people are worried about, and it can actually happen if negotiations are not done in a very respectful way. And then thankfully, I was able to pull myself out of that situation by continuing to put out applications and get in front of new companies. And I was able to land another offer just about a month after, or within a month after I had that first real offer rescinded. So 10,000 applications, two and a half offers, one scam offer, one rescinded offer, and one accepted and signed offer.
Well, next time, don't hire another offer negotiator when you have access to me. Uh, but yo, absolutely brutal, but don't wait another second. Uh, don't wait another second of it. Join my side hustle program. I think I think this is a very big indicator of where the market is going. A very big indicator about where the market is going, and product managers and all tech professionals basically have to go out there and protect themselves at all times. This is like I've had people that's come back into the program in 2022. Unfortunately, they got laid off, they got impacted again. 2023, I could probably count on more than a few handfuls of people that landed jobs in 2022 or 2023 and got re-impacted and in 2024. So hopefully that doesn't happen to you. It seems like the market has stabilized a lot more, but we just can't really take anything for granted. So with that said, I'm gonna let you go on your day. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come speak with us. With that also said, man, if you need anything, it's crazy. Like when I first met you, I remember we did a total of like 3 consultations. You wanted to make sure that this was the right career path, the right program for you. Um, and yeah, that time was a candidate's market. And I remember you walked out on a few opportunities because like once you started seeing some of the numbers that our other people are bringing in, you're like, I could probably do a little bit better for myself. But this time around, I think the market's absolutely changed, largely because if you really think about it, the market at that time, there were a lot of, I think right now, companies are more in favor of hiring the product managers that are transitioning into the market because with the AI reset, like a lot of those previous product manager practices were no longer effective. And that's actually why, with the lack of revenue, they had to go out there and lay off people because they can't pay people what it is that they don't have. And a lot of the experienced product managers are actually finding it more difficult to get a product manager job than people that are coming into the product management space, just because it's just like, well, they're holding on to how product management was done a very, very long time ago, which doesn't really seem that long, like 2022. But let's make sure it starts. I'll see you in the side hustle program, buddy. And that's the next chapter. I've been telling everybody protect themselves at all times because I've just seen so many re-layoffs 2022, 2023, 2024. And it's just been a crazy, brutal market. I don't know why people are procrastinating on it, but I've had so many people that's like, yeah, my job is safe so far. And I was like, I don't want to be negative, but eventually it'll catch up to you. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And that's one mistake I realized from my first go around is I was so happy to break into product management that I was like, oh well, let me focus on other areas of my life. Then I got laid off, and it became very real very quickly. And so, thankfully, I was able to secure another job in product management, and I'm able to cover my expenses, and now I can refocus myself on protecting myself through those side hustles. So I won't make that same mistake again. I'll be in school in no time. And thank you for not only what you've done for the PG program, but creating this community and then also helping us product managers protect ourselves from these crazy markets by building other income streams. Thank you, Rich.
100%, man. I'll talk to you soon. All right, buddy.
All right. Bye
All right.
bye.